The rain slammed against the window of our tiny Brooklyn apartment, each drop a reminder of the storm that had torn my world apart. I sat on the couch, clutching a mug of cold coffee, staring at the text from Ethan. Send me a pic of Rusty, please. I miss him. My heart twisted. How dare he ask about our dog? The one piece of us he hadn't shattered when he walked out for her. That TikTok girl with 1 million followers and a smile that blinded him to me. 2 years ago, Ethan and I were the kind of couple people envied. We'd met at a queer poetry slam in Greenwich Village, his hazel eyes locking onto mine as he read a verse about love outlasting time. By the end of the night, we were laughing over cheap wine, planning a life-together marriage, a house upstate, and Rusty, our golden retriever, bounding through our dreams. We built a world in that cramped apartment, filled with late-night talks and lazy Sundays. But fame has a way of creeping in. And for Ethan, it came in the form of Lila Voss, a 22-year-old influencer whose dance videos took over his phone screen and then his heart. It started innocently enough. Ethan, a budding filmmaker, was obsessed with social media trends, always chasing the next big thing for his portfolio. She's got something special, Sam, he'd say, showing me Lila's videos, her spins, her laughter, her curated perfection. I didn't mind at first. I trusted him. But soon, he was staying up late, messaging her about collabs, his phone glowing brighter than his eyes when he looked at me. I'd wake up to find him gone, filming with her in Manhattan lofts or Central Park, their chemistry spilling over in every clip. I told myself it was professional, that Ethan loved me. Until the night he didn't come home. Sam, I'm sorry, he said when he finally showed up, his bags already packed. Lila, she's my future. I'm moving to L.A. with her. His voice cracked, but his decision didn't. He left Rusty with me, saying it was better for the dog to stay in Brooklyn. Better for me, he meant, like a consolation prize for my broken heart. I stood frozen as he walked out, the door clicking shut like the end of a chapter one wasn't ready to close. Now, 6 months later, he was texting me daily, not about us, but about Rusty. How's he doing? Send a pic. I hated how his words still tugged at me, how I'd scroll through my phone, tempted to send him a photo just to feel connected again. But every time, I'd see Lila's latest post, her and Ethan, arm in arm, living their glossy L.A. life, and my resolve would harden. Rusty was mine now, the one constant in a world Ethan had upended. That evening, I took Rusty for a walk along the East River, his tail wagging despite the drizzle. My phone buzzed again, another text from Ethan. I know you hate me, but please, just one pic. I stopped, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Why did he care so much? Was it guilt? Or was there something he wasn't saying? I snapped a photo of Rusty, his fur damp but his eyes bright, and hesitated. Sending it felt like opening a door I'd fought to keep closed. Instead, I called my best friend, Marcus, who'd been my rock since the breakup. He's texting again, I said, my voice tight. It's always about Rusty, but it feels bigger. Marcus sighed through the phone. Sam, he's reaching out because he's lost without you. Lila's a fantasy, not a life. You need to confront this, either cut him off or figure out what he really wants. I knew Marcus was right, but confronting Ethan meant facing the pain I'd buried. As Rusty nuzzled my hand, I made a decision. I'd go to L.A. Not to beg, not to win him back, but to understand why he kept pulling me back into his orbit. I booked a flight that night, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Rusty would stay with Marcus, and I'd face Ethan alone. The plane touched down in L.A. The next morning, the city sprawling beneath a haze of ambition. I didn't tell Ethan I was coming. I wanted to catch him off guard, to see the truth in his eyes. Lila's address wasn't hard to find. Her life was an open book online. I stood outside her sleek downtown loft, my pulse racing as I knocked. When the door opened, it wasn't Ethan or Lila. It was a stranger, a guy with a camera slung around his neck, who looked me up and down. "You Sam?" he asked, surprising me. I nodded, confused. "Ethan's been talking about you. He's not here right now, but you should come in." I stepped inside, my stomach churning. The loft was a shrine to Lila's brand neon lights, ring lights, and stacks of branded merch. But on the coffee table, I saw something that stopped me cold, a photo of Rusty, printed and framed, next to a notebook with Ethan's handwriting. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. The page was filled with unsent letters to me, words of regret, love, and confusion. "Sam, I made a mistake. Lila's world isn't mine. I miss you. I miss us." Before I could process it, the door opened again. Ethan stood there, his face pale, his eyes wide with shock. "Sam," he whispered, "why are you here?" I held up the notebook, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "You tell me, Ethan, why do you keep asking for pictures of our dog?" Ethan's face crumpled, a mix of guilt and relief washing over him. He stepped into the loft, closing the door behind him, and for a moment, we stood in silence, the weight of 6 months apart pressing down on us. The air smelled of lavender candles and ambition. But all I could focus on was the man I'd loved, the man who'd left me for a life that now seemed to be unraveling him. "I didn't expect you," he said finally, his voice low. I don't even know where to start." "Then start with why you keep texting me about Rusty," I said, my tone sharper than I intended. I held up the notebook, its pages creased from being read and reread. "Or maybe with this. You wrote that you miss me, Ethan. So why are you still with her?" He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I knew too well. "It's not that simple, Sam. Lila, she's a whirlwind. She pulled me in, made me feel like I was part of something huge. But it's not real, not like us." He paused, his eyes searching mine. "I ask about Rusty because he's the only piece of you I can still reach." His words hit like a punch, stirring up the hurt I'd tried to bury. I wanted to scream, to demand why he'd chosen her over me. But something in his expression stopped me. He looked lost, like a man who'd chased a dream only to find it hollow. I set the notebook down, my hands shaking. "You left me, Ethan. You don't get to cherry pick what parts of our life you still want." "I know," he whispered. "I messed up, but I didn't know how to come back. Lila's world, it's all surface. The followers, the brand deals, the parties, it's not me. I thought it was. But every day, I wake up missing you. Missing Rusty. Missing home." I wanted to believe him. But trust was a fragile thing. And he'd broken mine. Then why stay? I asked. Why not come back to Brooklyn? Before he could answer, the door swung open, and Lila Voss herself walked in. She was even more striking in person, petite, with flawless skin and eyes that seemed to command the room. She froze when she saw me, her smile faltering. Ethan. Who's this? This is Sam, Ethan said, his voice steady but tense. We need to talk. Lila. Her gaze flicked between us, sharp and calculating. Oh. Sam. The ex. I've heard about you. Her tone was light, but there was an edge to it, like she was marking her territory. She stepped closer to Ethan, her hand brushing his arm. What's this about? I didn't give Ethan a chance to respond. It's about why he's been texting me every day, begging for pictures of our dog. I said, my voice cold. It's about why he's writing letters to me in a notebook instead of living the perfect life you're selling online. Lila's eyes narrowed, but she didn't flinch. Ethan's with me now. Whatever you two had, it's over. Right, babe? She looked at him, expecting confirmation. But Ethan didn't meet her gaze. Instead, he stared at the floor, his jaw tight. Lila, we need to talk, he repeated, this time with more resolve. Alone. She laughed. A sharp, brittle sound. Seriously? You're doing this in front of him? She gestured at me, her composure slipping. Fine. Say what you need to say. Ethan took a deep breath, his eyes finally meeting mine. Sam, I'm sorry. I thought I wanted this life, this fame. But it's empty. I've been trying to reach you because I still love you. I never stopped. The room spun. I'd come to L.A. for answers, but I hadn't expected this. Lila's face darkened, and she stepped back, her arms crossed. You're throwing away everything we've built for him. She spat. We're a brand. Ethan. People love us together. You can't just walk away. I'm not a brand, Ethan said quietly. I'm a person. And I made a mistake. Lila's eyes flashed with anger. But there was something else there too, fear. She turned to me, her voice low. You think you can just show up and take him back? He chose me. Sam. He left you. Her words stung, but I held her gaze. He's not a prize to be won, Lila. He's a person who's clearly unhappy. And I'm not here to take him back. I am here to understand why he's still reaching out. The tension in the room was suffocating. Ethan stepped toward me, his voice soft. Sam, can we talk outside? Please. I nodded, my heart racing. As we stepped onto the balcony, the L.A. skyline glittered below, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. Ethan leaned against the railing, his hands shaking. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. But I need you to know I'm trying to fix this. I want to come home. Home isn't just a place you can walk back into, I said, my voice breaking. You broke us. Ethan. You broke me. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. But I'm asking for a chance to make it right. Not today. Not tomorrow. But someday. I didn't have an answer. The hurt was too raw. The love too tangled. As we stood there, the city humming below, I realized this trip wasn't just about Ethan, it was about me finding closure. Or maybe a new beginning. But for now, all I could do was breathe and let the truth settle. The balcony air was warm, thick with the scent of jasmine and city smog. Ethan's words hung between us, heavy with promise and pain. I wanted to believe him, to let the love we'd shared pull me back. But the memory of his betrayal kept me anchored to reality. I need time, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to snap back into place. I know, Ethan replied, his eyes fixed on the horizon. I don't deserve you forgiving me. But I'm going to try. Sam, I'm going to show you I mean it. Before I could respond, Lila's voice cut through the moment, sharp and unyielding. Ethan, we're not done. She stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, her expression a mix of defiance and desperation. You're making a mistake. You think you can just walk away from this life. From us. Ethan turned to her, his face resolute. Lila, what we have isn't a life. It's a performance. I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I saw the real Lila, not the polished influencer, but a young woman terrified of losing control. You're throwing away everything, she said, her voice cracking. The sponsorships, the followers, the opportunities. For what? A dog and a guy who's never going to trust you again. Her words were a blade, slicing through the fragile hope Ethan's confession had sparked. I stepped forward, my voice steady. This isn't about me or Rusty. It's about Ethan figuring out who he is. And clearly, it's not the person you're trying to make him. Lila's gaze snapped to me, her lips curling. You don't know him like I do. You weren't there when he was filming with me. When he was happy. Was he? I shot back. Because the guy I'm looking at doesn't seem happy. He seems lost. Ethan stepped between us, his voice firm. Enough. Lila, I'm grateful for what we've done together. But it's over. I'm not your co-star anymore. She stared at him, her composure crumbling. You'll regret this, she said, then turned and stormed back inside, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed like a gunshot, leaving Ethan and me alone again. He exhaled, his shoulders sagging. I didn't want it to end like that. It's not the end, I said, though I wasn't sure what I meant. It's just a step. We stood in silence, the city's hum filling the space between us. I wanted to ask him to come back to Brooklyn, to try again, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I said, I'm staying at a hotel nearby. I need to think about all this. But Ethan, don't text me about Rusty anymore. If you want to talk about us. He nodded, his eyes glistening. I will. I promise. I left the loft, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. The L.A. streets were alive with noise and color, but I felt like I was moving through a fog. Back at the hotel, I called Marcus, spilling everything: the notebook, Ethan's confession, Lila's outburst. What do I do? Marcus, I asked, my voice breaking. I still love him. but I'm scared. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then said, "You don't have to decide right now. You went there for answers, and you got them. Now give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling." That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Ethan's words echoed in my mind. "I still love you." I never stopped. But love wasn't enough, not without trust. Not without time. I thought of Rusty, waiting for me back home. His unconditional love a reminder of what mattered. Maybe that was the lesson here. Love could hurt, but it could also heal, if you let it. The next morning, I woke to a text from Ethan, not about Rusty, but about us. "Can we meet for coffee? I just want to talk." My heart skipped, but I didn't reply right away. I needed to be sure not just of him, but of myself. I spent the day wandering L.A. From the Griffith Observatory to the Venice Beach boardwalk, letting the city's energy ground me. By evening, I knew what I wanted, not a grand gesture, but a real conversation, one step at a time. I texted Ethan back, agreeing to meet at a small cafe in Silver Lake. When I arrived, he was already there, looking nervous but determined. We ordered coffee, and for the first time in months, we talked not about Lila or Rusty, but about us. About the mistakes we'd both made, the dreams we still shared, and the possibility of starting over. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation, but it was honest, raw, and real. As we left the cafe, Ethan reached for my hand, then stopped himself. "I'm not going to push you," he said, "but I'm here, Sam, whenever you're ready." I nodded, my heart full but guarded. "Let's take it slow," I said, "one day at a time." The cafe's warmth lingered in my chest as I walked back to my hotel. Ethan's words echoing in my mind. "Whenever you're ready." It was a promise, not a demand. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of hope that we could rebuild something, maybe not what we had, but something new. But hope was a dangerous thing, and I wasn't ready to let it take over. Back in my room, I video called Marcus to check on Rusty. His face filled the screen, his grin wide as Rusty licked his chin. "This dog is living better than me." Marcus laughed. "How's L.A. treating you? Did you and Ethan sort things out?" "Not sorted," I said, "but started. He says he wants to come back, but I don't know if I can trust him yet." Marcus nodded, his expression soft. "Trust takes time, Sam. You're doing the right thing by going slow. Just don't let him pull you back into his mess if he's not all in." I knew he was right. Ethan's life with Lila had been a whirlwind, and I needed to be sure he was ready to leave it behind, not just for me, but for himself. Over the next few days, Ethan and I met again, this time for walks through Griffith Park or quiet dinners at hole-in-the-wall spots. We talked about everything: the pain of the breakup, the dreams we'd shelved, the people we'd become. He told me about the pressure of Lila's world, how her team micromanaged every post, every moment. I felt like a prop. He admitted one night over tacos. I thought it was freedom, but it was a cage. I listened, my heart softening but still cautious. "Why didn't you tell me it was falling apart?" I asked. "Why the texts about Rusty instead of just being honest?" Ethan looked down, his fingers tracing the edge of his plate. "I was ashamed. I left you for something I thought was bigger, better." Admitting I was wrong. It felt like admitting I'd failed you twice. His vulnerability disarmed me. But I held my ground. You did fail me, Ethan. But I'm not perfect either. I shut you out after you left. Didn't give you a chance to explain. Maybe we both need to own that. He nodded, his eyes meeting mine. Can we try? Not to fix the past, but to build something new. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I suggested we spend the next day apart. I needed space to think, to feel the weight of his words without his presence clouding my judgment. I wandered alone. From the bustling Hollywood Walk of Fame to the quiet paths of Runyon Canyon. The city felt like a paradox, glamorous, yet lonely. Full of dreams, yet heavy with reality. It mirrored my heart, torn between longing and fear. That evening, I got a text from Lila. I hadn't expected to hear from her. And the message was curt: meet me at my loft. We need to talk. My first instinct was to ignore it. But curiosity and maybe a need for closure pushed me to go. When I arrived, Lila was alone. Her usual polish replaced by a raw, unfiltered intensity. I know you think I'm the villain, she said, pouring us both wine without asking. But I'm not. Ethan came to me. He wanted this life. And now he's throwing it away for you. I took the glass, but didn't drink. He's not throwing it away for me. He's choosing himself. You built a world that doesn't let him breathe. Lila. She laughed, bitter and sharp. You think you're better for him. You're just the safe option. Sam. The one he runs back to when the spotlight gets too hot. Her words stung, but I saw through them. Maybe, I said. But at least I'm not trying to make him someone he's not. Lila's face softened, just for a moment, and I saw the crack in her armor. I love him too. You know, she whispered. But I can't keep him if he doesn't want to stay. It was the most honest thing she'd said, and it shifted something in me. Lila wasn't the enemy, she was just as human, just as flawed. I left her loft with a strange sense of peace, knowing this wasn't about winning or losing Ethan. It was about letting him choose his own path. When I met Ethan the next day, I told him about Lila's visit. His eyes widened, but he didn't defend her. Instead, he said, I'm done with that life. Sam, I'm moving back to Brooklyn. Not for you, though. I hope you'll be the rebut for me. His words felt like a turning point. Not a promise of forever, but a step toward something real. I nodded, my heart lighter. Let's go home, I said. But we're taking it one day at a time. As we booked his flight back, I felt the first stirrings of a new beginning, not a fairy tale, but a chance to rebuild, grounded in truth and tempered by time. Brooklyn welcomed us back with its familiar chaos, honking cabs, the scent of street food, and the hum of lives colliding. Ethan moved into a small studio a few blocks from my apartment, close enough to rebuild, but far enough to give me space. Rusty was ecstatic, his tail ablur when Ethan walked through the door for the first time. And I couldn't help but smile at the dog's forgiveness, so pure, so uncomplicated. Our first week back was tentative, like learning to walk on a healed fracture. We met for coffee, walked Rusty along the East River, and talked about everything except the future. Ethan was different, quieter, more reflective. He'd left Lila's team officially, posting a simple message online, stepping back to find myself. Thanks for the ride. The internet exploded with speculation, but he ignored it, focusing instead on the small moments with me and Rusty. One evening, as we sat on my couch with Rusty sprawled between us, Ethan opened up about the past 6 months. Lila's world was intoxicating, he said, his voice low. But it was like living in a script. Every smile, every post-it was all planned. I lost who I was. I nodded, my fingers tracing Rusty's fur. And who are you now? He looked at me, his eyes steady. I'm still figuring that out. But I know I want to be someone who doesn't run from what matters. His words lingered, and I felt the walls I'd built start to crack. But trust was a slow burn, and I wasn't ready to leap. Instead, I suggested we volunteer at a local queer youth center, something we'd always talked about but never done. It felt like a way to ground ourselves, to focus on something bigger than our own mess. The center was a whirlwind of energy, teens laughing, arguing, creating art, and sharing stories. Ethan and I helped organize a poetry workshop, and watching him connect with the kids, his old passion for storytelling resurfaced. One boy, Jamie, reminded me of a younger Ethan, shy but fierce, with a notebook full of poems he was too scared to share. Ethan spent hours with him, coaxing out his words, and I saw glimpses of the man I'd fallen in love with. After a session, as we walked home with Rusty, Ethan said, "This feels right. Sam, helping these kids. Being here with you, it's like I'm remembering who I'm supposed to be." I smiled, but my heart was cautious. "It's a start," I said, "but we've got a long way to go." That night, I got a call from Lila. I hadn't expected to hear from her again, and her voice was softer, less guarded. "I saw Ethan's post," she said. "He's really gone, isn't he?" "Yeah," I replied. "He's trying to build something real here." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I could make him happy." I believed her, and it surprised me. "You didn't break us, Lila. We did that ourselves. But we're trying to fix it." After we hung up, I felt lighter, like a weight I hadn't known I was carrying had lifted. Lila wasn't the enemy anymore, she was just someone else navigating love and loss. I told Ethan about the call the next day, and he listened, his expression thoughtful. "I'm glad you talked to her," he said. "I don't want bad blood. I just want to move forward." We spent the next few weeks falling into a rhythm, volunteering, walking Rusty, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. But the past wasn't done with us. One morning, I woke to a notification. Lila had posted a video, a montage of her and Ethan's time together. Captioned, "Some stories don't end. They just change." The comments were brutal, accusing Ethan of using her for clout, accusing me of stealing him back. The internet had turned our lives into a soap opera. Ethan was furious, but I stopped him before he could respond. "Let it go," I said. "This is her way of processing. We don't need to fight her battles." He nodded, but I could see the strain in his eyes. The world was watching, judging, and it was a reminder of why he'd left that life. We decided to take a break from social media, focusing instead on the youth center and each other. Jamie's poetry was blossoming, and he dedicated a piece to us, calling it Second Chances. It was raw, honest, And it hit me hard maybe because it mirrored our own fragile hope. As winter settled over Brooklyn, Ethan and I grew closer, but I still held back. Love was there, but trust was a work in progress. One night, as snow fell outside, Ethan looked at me and said, "I'm not going anywhere, Sam. I'll wait as long as it takes." I didn't reply, but I reached for his hand, our fingers intertwining. It wasn't a promise, but it was a step. And for now, that was enough. Winter in Brooklyn wrapped us in a quiet cocoon, the snow muffling the city's chaos and giving Ethan and me space to rebuild. We spent evenings at the youth center, where Jamie's poetry had become a beacon for the other kids, and mornings walking Rusty through snow-dusted parks. Each moment felt like a stitch in a wound that was slowly healing. But the scar of Ethan's betrayal lingered, a reminder to tread carefully. One afternoon, as we sorted art supplies at the center, Ethan got a call from his old film school professor, offering him a chance to direct a short documentary about queer youth in New York. It was a low-budget project, far from Lila's glossy world. But Ethan's eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. "This could be my way back," he said, his voice alive with purpose. "Not to fame, but to telling stories that matter." I encouraged him to take it, though part of me worried. Would this pull him back into the world of ambition that had seduced him before? But as he dove into the project, I saw the old Ethan, a one who'd read poetry to me under streetlights, who believed art could change lives. He included Jamie and the other kids, giving them a voice, and invited me to help with interviews. Working together felt like rediscovering a language we'd both forgotten. One night, after a long day of filming, we collapsed on my couch, Rusty snoring at our feet. Ethan turned to me, his face soft in the lamplight. "Sam, this project, it's because of you. You reminded me what I love about storytelling." My heart warmed, but I kept my guard up. "I'm glad you're finding your way," I said. "But this is about you, not me." He nodded, accepting my boundaries. "I know, but I hope one day it's about us too." The documentary consumed Ethan's days, and I found myself missing him. Even as we grew closer, I threw myself into my own work, a graphic design job I'd neglected during the breakup. The routine grounded me, but the internet kept pulling us back. Lila's video had sparked a wave of gossip, and now tabloid blogs were digging into our story, painting Ethan as the villain and me as the scorned ex. It was exhausting, and I worried it would derail Ethan's progress. One evening, Jamie showed up at the center with a black eye. His usual spark dimmed. "My dad didn't like my poem about being bi," he said, his voice small. Ethan and I sat with him, listening as he poured out his fear and anger. It hit too close to home. Ethan's own parents had disowned him when he came out, and I'd faced my share of rejection. We stayed late, helping Jamie find a safe place to stay, and it reminded us both why we were doing this. After Jamie left, Ethan turned to me, his eyes fierce. "This is why I came back, Sam. Not just for you, but for kids like him. I want to be someone they can count on." I saw the truth in his words, the weight of his commitment. For the first time, I let myself imagine a future with him, not the one we'd planned years ago, but a new one, built on shared purpose. I reached for his hand, my fingers brushing his. "You're doing good, Ethan," I said. "Keep going." The documentary premiered at a small community screening, and the room was packed with kids, mentors, and local activists. Jamie's story was the heart of the film, his poetry woven through scenes of struggle and hope. When the lights came up, the audience was in tears, and Ethan was mobbed with hugs and praise. I stood in the back, my chest tight with pride, but also fear. Success could pull him away again. Afterward, we walked home under a starry sky, Rusty trotting beside us. Ethan was quiet, then said, "I don't want this to change us. Sam, I want you by my side, not as a shadow, but as my partner." I stopped, my breath catching. "I want that too," I admitted. "But I need to know you're all in. No more running." He took my hands, his grip steady. "I'm here. And I'm staying." We kissed, soft and tentative, under a street lamp's glow. It wasn't a fix, but it was a promise to try, to build, to love with intention. As we walked on, Rusty's leash linking us, I felt the first real spark of trust reignite. The road ahead was long, but for the first time, I believed we could walk it together. Spring arrived in Brooklyn, painting the streets with cherry blossoms and new beginnings. Ethan's documentary was gaining traction, picked up by a small streaming platform, and he was fielding offers for more projects. But he stayed grounded, spending his days at the youth center and his evenings with me and Rusty. Our relationship was evolving, not a return to the past, but a careful dance towards something stronger. We started couples therapy, a suggestion from Marcus that I hadn't expected Ethan to embrace. In those sessions, we unpacked the hurt, the betrayal, and the love that still bound us. Ethan admitted how Lila's world had seduced him with promises of validation, while I confessed my fear of being left again. It was raw, sometimes painful, but it built a bridge between us, one honest word at a time. One afternoon, as we walked Rusty through Prospect Park, Ethan stopped by a pond, his expression serious. "Sam, I want to ask you something, but I don't want to scare you." My heart raced, but I nodded. "Go ahead." He pulled a small box from his pocket, not a ring, but a key. "It's to my studio," he said. "I'm not asking you to move in. Not yet. But I want you to know you're welcome in my space. Always." I took the key, my fingers trembling. It was small, but it felt monumental, a symbol of trust, of openness. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick. "I'm not ready to use it yet, but I will." He smiled, and we walked on, Rusty chasing a squirrel and pulling us into laughter. It was moments like these, simple, unscripted, that made me believe in us again. But the world wasn't done testing us. A week later, Lila announced a new project, a tell-all vlog about her toxic relationship with Ethan, hinting at betrayals and secrets. The internet ate it up. And suddenly, Ethan was trending again, this time as a villain. He was shaken, but I urged him to stay offline. "She's hurting," I said. "This is her way of coping. Don't let it pull you back." He nodded, but I could see the toll it took. The youth center became his refuge, and he poured himself into mentoring Jamie and the others. One evening, Jamie performed a new poem at an open mic. His words a raw reflection on family, identity, and forgiveness. Ethan and I sat in the audience, holding hands, and I realized how much we'd both grown not just as a couple, but as people. After the reading, Jamie hugged us both, his eyes bright. "You guys showed me I can be myself," he said. "Thank you." His words hit me hard. A reminder that our story wasn't just about it was about the impact we could have. Ethan and I walked home, the city alive around us, and I felt a shift. I was ready to let go of the last of my fear, to trust not just Ethan, but myself. That night, I used the key to Ethan's studio for the first time. It was small, cluttered with film equipment and books, but it felt like him, warm, creative, real. He was surprised to see me, his face lighting up as I stepped inside. "You're here," he said, almost in disbelief. "I'm here," I replied, and we kissed, not with the urgency of the past, but with the quiet certainty of a shared future. We talked until dawn, planning not just for us, but for the kids at the center, for Rusty, for the life we wanted to build. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. The next day, Ethan got a call from a lawyer. Lila's vlog had crossed a line, making false claims that could hurt his career. He was torn, but I encouraged him to respond not with anger, but with truth. He posted a simple statement, acknowledging his mistakes but refusing to engage in her narrative. To our surprise, the response was overwhelmingly supportive, with fans and friends rallying around him. As the drama faded, Ethan and I focused on what mattered, each other, the youth center, and Rusty, who seemed to sense the shift in our energy. One evening, as we sat on my fire escape, watching the sunset, Ethan said, "I don't need the world to love me, Sam. I just need you." I leaned against him, my heart full. "You've got me," I said, "and I've got you." Summer arrived, and Brooklyn buzzed with life street fairs, open hydrants, and the kind of heat that made every moment feel vivid. Ethan and I were stronger than ever, not because we'd erased the past, but because we'd faced it together. Our days were filled with small joys, cooking dinner in my tiny kitchen, taking Rusty to Coney Island, mentoring at the youth center. The key to Ethan's studio had become a regular part of my life, a quiet promise we were both keeping. The youth center was thriving, with Jamie leading a new poetry collective that drew kids from across the borough. Ethan's documentary had sparked local interest, and we were planning a fundraiser to expand the center's programs. It felt like we were building something bigger than ourselves, a legacy of love and resilience. But the past had one last surprise. One morning, I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Inside was a letter from Lila, handwritten and raw. "Sam, I was wrong about a lot of things. I hurt Ethan, and I hurt you. I'm trying to be better. Thank you for showing me what love can look like." Enclosed was a photo of Rusty, one I'd sent Ethan months ago, with a note, "He's lucky to have you both." I showed Ethan the letter, expecting anger, but he just smiled sadly. "She's finding her way," he said. "Like we are." We decided to reach out, not to rekindle anything, but to offer peace. We invited Lila to the youth center's fundraiser, a neutral space where she could see the work we were doing. To our surprise, she came, quieter than I'd expected, her usual bravado replaced by something humbler. She donated to the center and even shared Jamie's poetry online, giving the kids a boost they hadn't expected. It wasn't forgiveness. Not fully. But it was closure. As the fundraiser ended, Ethan and I stood on the center's rooftop, the city skyline glowing under a pink sky. Rusty lay at our feet, content, as we watched the crowd below. "We did this," Ethan said, his arm around me. "Together." I nodded, my heart full. "We're not done yet," I said. "There's more to build, more to learn." He kissed my forehead, his touch steady. "I'm all in, Sam. For you. For us. For this." The journey hadn't been easy. Ethan's betrayal, Lila's chaos, the weight of the world's judgment had all tested us. But it had also shown us what love could be, not a perfect story, but a real one, built on trust, forgiveness, and the courage to try again. Rusty nudged my hand, and I laughed, the sound mingling with Ethan's. This was our life, now not a fairy tale, but a truth we'd fought for. Months later, we moved in together, a small brownstone with a yard for Rusty. The youth center grew, and Jamie's poetry collective became a citywide program. Ethan's career flourished, not with fame, but with purpose. And every night, as we fell asleep with Rusty sprawled between us, I felt a gratitude deeper than I could name. Love hadn't saved us, we had saved ourselves. Together. The texts about Rusty stopped. Not because Ethan didn't care, but because he didn't need them anymore. He had user home, our dog, our life. And as I looked at him one evening, his face soft in the glow of our living room, I knew we'd found something rare, a second chance that was stronger than the first.